Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to Still Standing with Wayne and Kim, the Dog Show podcast, brought to you by Canine Chronicle, celebrating over 50 years of excellence. And seriously, is there anybody that does it better? We just love those people and what they do for the sport and for us. Anyway, I'm Wayne Calvin. This over here is,
Kimberly Meredith,
that's right.
also
And-
a Tom Gravy fan,
yes, of
The
course.
Gravies plural fan.
Yeah,
Canine Chronicles, the best.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
we want to talk today about, we've talked about, you probably have heard me just 10 million times talk about too many dog shows. But today I want to talk about too many dog shows that you have to go to. And this is about the race, right? This is about being number one. And you know how I feel about rankings. I showed my little dog 3 days. He's number four English Spaniel in the country, all breeds. And that 3 days was plenty. I'm done. I'm ranked. Woo. It doesn't, I still like him the same. I know what he's like. I know where he's good and bad. I know that he's the most perfect dog in the world. I don't care about the rankings. But some people do, and that's cool. In fact, we need that in the sport for consistent participation, right? We need that. Here comes Mr. Champion now.
Oh, is he
Back
going
to
to say
base.
hi?
He might, even though I don't say to. He likes to fetch, and if he wants to fetch, he means now, and he'll bark until he fetches. So we'll see. Hi, buddy. Hi, buddy. It's all wet.
Hold him up so we can see him. Let everybody see him.
He's far away.
Oh,
If he gets near, I will. He's so funny. Anyway, so yeah, and it's true that people really like this, and I'm fine with that, and I love it. And quite frankly, you do get to see good dogs more than you would unless they weren't running for a race. But the way the races are set up now, and by races I mean the top dog, top breeds, top whatever. And by the
right.
way, who was number one 3 years ago? No one remembers. Who won the
Or
Sprint
last
of the
year.
Garden
Or
3 years
last
ago?
year.
No one remembers. What
It's
they
sad,
remember is
isn't it?
good dogs. They remember really good dogs more
Yes,
than
I
they do
agree.
records. But we've got a great one right now. But in the miniature Schnauzer of John Constantine's, and it's a great dog. We just see him a lot, and he's number one. I think he finished number one last year, which was only a couple
Yes.
weeks ago, and that's great. He's not done this before. It's fun to do it, and it all worked out really well with a great dog. We'll remember that dog whether he was top dog or not, right? But the problem is the handlers all complain, the exhibitors complain, the judges complain. Everybody's got to go to too many shows. You can have a lot of shows, knock yourself out. If that's not going to get fixed, it's not going to get fixed. But maybe there's a way where we can do a side-by-side rankings so you can still keep the ones you have and love. That's fine. But another
Mhm.
set of rankings that only counts, those points and wins only count the top 100 shows. So instead of someone having to go to 300 shows a year, which you do now, 253. How good is this for the person and the dog and the owners and the handlers, the assistants, and everybody else? They're eating junk food on the road. They're never home. They have to make appointments to get their oil changed in the middle of the whole havoc. It's just not healthy for anyone. And we've caused this by, when the rankings were there and there weren't that many shows, fine, you go to 150 shows. Now you've got 2,000 shows to pick from. And a lot of them are 300 dog shows. So a
More,
group
more,
one,
more and more.
yeah,
Yeah.
more and more. And
Mhm.
so what we're talking about is ways to come up with new systems for that. One of the ones that I've talked, and I didn't invent this, I don't think. It's one of those things you'd like to think you're the first one, but I think other people have thought of it too. And that is only the top 100 dog shows count for the rankings. So it's not as easy as it sounds. One of the things it does is it allows people who are running for top dog to spend less money if they want to. So more people can compete because they're only competing at 100 shows. The handlers don't have to go to 300 shows to be ranked. They can go to 100 shows to be ranked. So those wins at both, again, keep your side by sides. People love that. But next to it, maybe in front of it, should be this top 100 shows count. Okay, how do you determine the top 100? Well, that's where the logistics get more interesting. By regions, you would know, right, Kim? You got to
Yeah.
spread it around. So you couldn't just take the top 100 dog shows in the nation, although you could, and I would like that. But you'd have to come up with some regional stuff to include areas where, now, let's put it this way. So what if you take, this is a trailing 3-year average, because it could be a weather event, it could be COVID, it could be anything, right? Trailing 3 years gives you 3 years prior data of the number of dogs entered at that show. So, and that's entered at that show because you really can't take out the absentees and all that. Just the way it goes. So the top 100 dog shows in size, number of entries. When you go to those shows, it counts. When you don't, it only counts for the other system. So this system could be the elite system. And again, people wouldn't have to go to 300. How good is it for the dog? If you were a dog, would you like to sit in the crate 300 times?
Well, no, and also think about, how lucky that we are collectively as a sport with all of our handlers, doesn't matter, all
Amazing.
of our people that own or show dogs, driving. I mean, across state after state after state. And we've had some people perish. We've had some serious accidents. But lucky, very lucky that we haven't had more with as many of us that are on the road. And that includes the judges.
Yeah.
You're flying, but you also, a lot of judges drive. So we've got the whole fancy basically driving a lot of miles and through bad weather, through, dangerous conditions on the roads. So all of that matters as well.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I think it's really important for the people and the dogs. Like you said, though, Kim, our handlers and people are so good at taking care of their dogs the best way they can
Yes.
on the
Yes.
road. I mean, there's always a couple of outliers, but the majority of people really know how to take, and that's part of being a handler. It's not just being in the ring and looking good. It's about caring for these dogs, knowing about first aid, knowing about how to handle events on the road. And the good news is the people who haven't quite figured that out yet, if they're lucky, there's somebody set up next to them that has. I can't tell you how many times we stopped the Bluebird to help somebody along the side of the road that broke down back when I was working for Forsyths. You just do that. You just help each other. And if you see a dog show van with X pens on it pulled over and you're a dog show person, you're probably going to pull over and say, "Hey, can I give you a hand?" But that doesn't mean that people have to put 300,000 miles on their vans every year if they don't want to.
Yeah, exactly.
If they don't want to.
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I for the first time in 2025, I campaigned a dog, which I haven't done for a long time. And I have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed it. We had a great
Oh,
team.
yeah.
It was wonderful. I I will always fondly remember it. Of course, it helped that we ended up number one, but it's work and it's strategy. So much strategy about where to go, double entering, looking at
Mhm.
last year's entry. So there's so much involved in it. It really is stressful. It really is. And I can see
Well,
why.
when we were
Go ahead.
showing Miss P to be number one,
Yes.
Eddie came on
The
board
number
as
one.
an ace.
The number
Yes.
one. Yes. Not just in a
Eddie came
breed. Yeah.
on, and Eddie came on board for a lot of reasons, obviously. He's a tremendous asset and a real beagle lover. But he also is real good at spreadsheets and figuring out those logistics. If we go here,
You got it.
and this is the system you got to play. And it's exhausting for everybody. And I think most everyone is like, man, I wish I didn't have to do this as much as I do. So having the top 100 shows allows us to give an option for people who don't want to drive that far that often, who don't think it's healthy for them or their dog to go to that many shows. We have a lot of handlers who are not real young, and I'll bet they'd love to go to 100 shows rather than 300. It's probably safer for everybody. And more important, those wins at that top 100 shows, they're wins.
Yeah.
The thing that it really, I think that matters the most to me in this system is that the good dogs have no choice but to go compete against each other 100 times a year. They have no choice.
And that's when it's exciting for judges as well. Yeah.
And exhibitors and spectators and everybody else. I mean,
Hmm.
when you go to Morris and Essex, when you go to Orlando and Westminster, obviously, you're gonna see the best again. They hide from each other all year because of the rankings, right?
Right.
Well, they're probably going there. So I could steal one over there and drive over here and fly from Connecticut to Ethiopia and come back and go to Mexico and then back. Yeah, it's like a
It's true.
metaphor.
It's true. Yeah.
We've all
And
seen
then,
it on Friday on the East Coast and win on Saturday on the West Coast. I mean, come on.
oh yeah, Jimmy Moses did that with a couple of dogs, Ian Sharon Newcomb. And let me tell you, they, take a best in show on one end of the country one day, show up the next day, 8 o'clock. It's brutal. It really
And
is.
by the way, who better to take care of dogs than Jimmy and Sharon, right? I mean, they
Yeah,
know everything about taking care of dogs,
absolutely.
um, and
Absolutely.
having the dog's head screwed on straight before they start that journey, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
this is the thing that it really would, there's so many layers of goodness here, right? The dogs going head to head, the best dogs competing, and the bigger 100. We right now have a giant show in Orlando, Westminster, Louisville, and where else? Although Louisville's half what it was, right? And Marson Essex when it happens. So they're very in Palm Springs, but after that, there's a pretty big fall off. And this would give those 100 shows maybe even more boost, right? So a 2,000
Mhm.
dog show that's now on the list could end up being a 3,000 dog show. And now we
Sure.
have 100 important dog shows instead of three or four that we all need to go to and want to go to. I think that would help a lot. The problem is regions, right? So
Right.
what do you do about that? What do you do about, I mean, Nebraska probably doesn't have a 2,000 dog show. I don't know for sure. Nevada, I don't know what areas don't. Kansas, maybe, although they're big, beautiful
Well,
shows.
and you get areas like, well, predominantly the West Coast, like Colorado, they just don't have that many shows there
Right.
per year.
Right.
I think I five or six come to the top of my head, but that's about it. Maybe five.
Right.
You
So
know,
what you could do is come up with a system where each state's highest number of show, biggest end. So the biggest show in Nebraska counts, the biggest show in Kansas counts. So you have to augment that list a little bit and come up with a way to maybe make it 150, one for each state and 100 at the tops that get included. There's got to be a way because it's going to end up being the Midwest and the East Coast for the biggest shows. That's where they are right now. And that's how they've been for a long time. So as far as the number of
no,
big shows,
but the last 8 to 10 years, uh, excluding Orlando. Number one is Louisville. Number two is Palm Springs. Woodstock's number three in the country
yeah,
for a lot
yeah.
of years. And so those are two West Coast shows,
Hmm.
Palm Springs and Woodstock, that were right up there in the top five for a
But
long
how far
time.
and how, but how far away from each other are they?
Well, if you look at how California is on a map, long and skinny, Palm Springs is about, 9 or 10 hour drive from, let's say, the San Francisco Bay Area, not even from the top of California.
So one's an ankle and
It's
one's an ear on that
Yeah,
long skinny, right?
exactly. Exactly. But, it's better than driving across Texas, which
Yeah,
could take 12 days, right?
it's true.
But
Woodstock has
yeah,
been
but I
big
mean,
for a
so,
long
and
time.
you're also losing the venues on the West Coast. We have a serious problem with venues for dog shows, and it's getting worse. Like Palm Springs is struggling right now. They made the move from the pretty side, over to the other side of the, where it's a long walk to grooming, it's a long walk to the rings, it's a long walk from the motorhomes. We just lost the Vallejo Solano County Fairgrounds, which is, decrepit and falling apart.
For Woodstock, you mean?
We Yeah, for
Woodstock.
for Woodstock. Yeah, we're at the Solano County Fairgrounds in Vallejo, which is not a safe area to begin with. And we were the last show there, and we've now left there. So, the venues, a lot of them just don't want dog shows.
Yeah,
So,
and the hotels
yeah.
too.
And the
So
hotel,
again,
well, yeah, I can't blame them because people let them destroy the rooms. Right.
yeah, but and Woodstock's been in the top three or four for 1,000 years. So there are
Yeah.
those shows that just they're going to annually be a big show. You could make them
Right.
bigger. And now that I think through the state thing, it could be 100 nationwide and then one from each state, or it could be you have to just spread the regions. But I wouldn't be surprised if we really did the numbers, now that I think of it, that it wouldn't all be Midwest and East Coast. That there's probably a bigger distribution of big shows than I'm thinking, because St. Louis is probably going
Hmm.
to draw some. There's big shows. There are big shows in Texas. There are big shows in places that aren't on either of those
Right.
extremes,
Right.
but it could be done. Let's just say that it could be done. And if it
It could be done.
was,
Sure.
so
Yeah.
now you got another problem. You've got to have to get all the magazines to agree because the magazines run the rankings. It's that simple. Do they want to
Yeah.
do the concurrent double lists? I can tell you that magazines pay a whole lot of money every year to the AKC for that data. A whole lot. You'd be
Really?
surprised how much.
Wow. I
So
don't I don't think the majority of the people know that.
yeah, I don't either, but it's not like they just download it for free. That's for sure. There's commas involved. And so when the magazines pay that money for that data, they can massage any way they want. And it's not that difficult these days to do a simple sort in a spreadsheet or however they download that data to just say, okay, trailing 3 years, average entry for 3 years of this show is this number, and that makes the top 100. So you'd have to have the magazines all, well, you don't have to have them all do it, but it'd be nice if a couple of big ones do it, right? And
Right.
keep because they want their individual thing. There's something about some of them count reserve best in show, some of them don't. I forget how that all works. Not that I care, but so they are a little unique. But maybe they could come together on this one and do the top 100. I think, boy, wouldn't it mean more if you were top dog by winning more at those at those the big
Yes,
shows in the country
absolutely.
than running and
Absolutely. But then,
picking up.
then you run into the problems with some of these clubs that are small and they're getting smaller and smaller and they're down to 200 dogs and which again goes back to the problem, too many shows being approved, too close together, which we've, talked about that a million times. But it's here. It's our reality now. So
Yeah,
then what do you do with these clubs that, they still have active members and they're working and they're proud of their little show, or maybe they're in an area in Kansas where there's not that many shows and the public doesn't get to see purebred dogs, right?
right.
So they do offer that service. So then how do you break it to them or say to them, you got to get your numbers up, when maybe they can't. So that's a whole nother dilemma. I don't, I think,
Well,
yeah,
not that this is the reason you do this, but the top 100 shows get really focused and bigger. Maybe some of the
the
little
way to,
shows, maybe we'll have
yeah,
to find another league for them, an open show or find some place where they can still compete. And by the way, those, you can, you don't have to go to just those 100. You can go to 300 if you want. But I think a lot of handlers would say, you know what? Done. There are
yeah.
handlers, in fact, some of my close friends that are, I think, the best handlers and best caretakers in the country are among them. They won't run a dog for top dog anymore. They just won't. Oh, you want to be number
Yeah.
one? Find somebody else because I'm not going to do
Yeah.
that. I'm
Yeah.
not
I'm
going
not
to.
going to burn myself out, my
Yeah,
family out, my dog out. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
And
I mean, well,
this couple in the middle of a 5 day circuit, they took the middle day off, went home, let the dogs run in the paddocks. Because they can. Not many can,
right.
but
Right.
there are ways to make this better for everybody. And it doesn't look like the AKC is going to do anything about too many shows. I
Well,
mean, we've been harping on this forever.
to comment on your idea here, which I think is fabulous, the top 100, maybe this is the way to fix this very broken system.
Hmm.
Too many shows, too close together. It's broken, but it's here. So maybe this is the way, just by attrition, that, it's going to take care of itself.
It would. And I would hope that there'd be clubs battling at the bottom to get into that 100 slot, 199 slot, and make their shows
Right.
bigger and better. And yes, there'd be some attrition, I would think. But if there was one show, the biggest show in X state where there aren't a lot of shows or a lot of big shows, there's one show in that state that was important enough to make the list, maybe that show would grow because handlers would say, hey, you know what? It counts. I won't have to run everybody out there. Maybe I'll go to that show. So it could
Yeah.
build those shows. There's so many benefits of this. I can't think of one single problem. I can't think of one liability among these assets, not a single one, except that we'd have to, like I said, no, the AKC is not going to do anything about too many shows. We know that. They're not going to take anybody's shows away. So this is one way, like you said, one way to help structure that. And unfortunately, it's going to take the magazines, not the AKC, to make it right. But I think it's sad that it has to go that way, but I think the magazines are strong and can do this. I just hope they would all get on board and come up with at least a similar system, if not the same system, to count the top shows. Something with some regional efficacy so that there's importance in those areas as well, so it's spread around. I really do think, though, a friend of mine, we were talking about this, and he said, I think you'd be surprised how many of the top 100 shows are spread fairly evenly. And if not, not a bad way to correct it. But yeah, I think it's easily accounted for. They already bought the
Mhm.
data. Just boop, boop, sort
Yeah.
like you do on a
Yeah.
spreadsheet. Sort, boop. Very simple.
Exactly.
Sum equals the 21, 22, 23, X divided by, and not that hard to do on a spreadsheet even, but and programming would be even easier. So those are my thoughts on what do you think other ways might be? Do you think this would help develop us into a open show championship level thing?
Oh, I think so. I think that'd be a very real possibility. I think that, also you have the aspect of how many great clusters have you seen over the many years? Where if they're strong, they've got big entries. We have a cluster up here in the Pacific Northwest where I am that's been, great for years with huge entries with the sporting dog club joining and a working dog club joining. And, I love it when you have the individual breed clubs or group clubs joining because you get really, really good quality. So not only
Mhm.
do you get quality throughout the show, you get these like if it's a working group show, you get wonderful working dogs, etc. And these clubs can't get along. And Mary Jane's bitching about Susie, and we're in third grade, and how can you let these incredible circuits that have been going on for so long fall apart because you can't get along?
Yeah.
Well, maybe with this 100 thing, it would give them a little bit of a nudge to, let's make this work,
Yeah.
right?
The big
Um,
100. And
yeah, yeah,
you boy, you'd want that star. If you're a club, you're going to work your tail off to try to make that. And
yeah.
and maybe you'll
And
find
hold a
ways
circuit
to,
together and say, okay, even though
Mhm.
she irritates the hell out of me, I'll put up with it for, a couple of months to
Yeah.
uh, get in this top 100. I think that'd be a really good goal. It would solve a lot of issues, maybe.
And maybe here's another possible benefit. Maybe the owner handlers who are the to my in my mind the key, the heart and soul of the sport, they'd get a better chance if all the handlers went to the top 100. They might be just having a great time at a 1,200 dog show that didn't make it without all the handlers being there. Maybe more of a chance for them to do some more winning in groups and things. I don't know, that's for sure. It could happen. It
It
could
could.
take that,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, could take that stigma away and say, well, maybe I can go over here. So they wouldn't become owner handler shows because anybody could go, but there may be a slight uptick in interest because they're going to get hammered by the top 100 show. I don't know, possible. So lots of benefits. What other ways can we? I mean, I can't think of any other way to fix this broken system of too many shows. We've tried everything. The
You
other
know,
thing is if we go to the open show level, good luck assigning that and figuring that one out. What's it mean? What is an open show?
well, with you being a former owner of UKC, you've experienced, different things besides just a regular dog show. So you would be qualified to make comments about what you've seen from that, whether they're open shows or, whatever, different categories. What success rate did UKC have with that?
Well, the bigger shows did great, and the
Right.
smaller shows people loved because they could go over there and have their own people and beat each other and win with each other and they were happy. And if you wanted to come to premiere one of the big shows, Gateway, then you knew you're gonna have to hike up your pants because they're all going to be there. So a similar microcosm of what could happen, right? But it didn't
Yes,
mean those
yes.
small clubs didn't thrive. They did. They were real good. There's some clubs that consistently put on a great show, just not in a region we're going to draw 600 dogs, 1,000 dogs, like
Sure.
the mirror used to. So it's just it's a matter of sorting these things with common sense. And if the AKC can't do it, bless their hearts, magazines are going to have to. I'd hope they'd.
And it may come down to that. It may because I can't see AKC is obviously approved and approved and approved. And I think the 200-mile radius thing is crazy.
It's the
Um, and they're not going to fix it.
yeah,
So someone's going to have to fix it. It's kind of like, a microcosm of our world today,
yeah,
which is upside down. It's got to be fixed.
yeah.
But, I mean, there's just so many possibilities and no one's going to be happy, no matter what the magazines do or AKC or whatever to try to fix things and straighten it out. No one's going to be happy. Everyone's going to complain. That's just human nature.
There's a reason that we were able to grow the UKC by 600% in 15 years. We didn't have to make popular decisions.
Amazing,
We did
amazing,
not
Wayne.
have to make popular decisions. We made unpopular decisions all the time. Instead of doing the popular thing, we did the right thing, and people hated it. But guess what? Over time, it
Yeah,
worked. You have to have the
yeah,
courage to do the right thing and not the popular thing. And when in a government like we have in the AKC with delegates and the whole structure of the board, it's real tough to make the right decision. And I understand it. I was there. It's tough to do the right thing when you want to keep your job. And you want to keep your job by pleasing the most people. And that's
there you
not their
go.
fault. It's just the system. It's the way it
You
is.
could also throw politicians in with that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's the same, same
Yeah,
thing. I mean, so someone's going to have the nerve to do the unpopular thing to fix
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
And the other thing would be if by any chance the maybe the AKC could see this working and do something like it. I would love for the AKC to also do a system, but that's never going to happen. And they shouldn't, I guess, because the magazines like doing that. But there's got to be a way. With the open shows, if it did go to that, if top
mhm,
100 shows really took over and there was some fall off at the other shows, I don't know if there would be. There are already the top 100 shows, right? But
right.
if there would be, and we went to open shows, the only thing I can think of for the open show concept, and I'm sure there's plenty of people smarter than me that have more, is the dogs can get all the points they want. And this is class dog, all the points they want. But even if it's 1,000 dogs entered in their breed, they can get 5 points, but it's not a major, right? They would get 5 points, but it wouldn't be considered a major. They'd have to get one of those majors or both, maybe, at one of the top 100 shows or at
Okay, I like
maybe
that.
not the
I
top
like that.
100. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe it's a bigger umbrella then. Maybe it's not 100 shows for that. Maybe it's 500 shows
yeah,
that are
yeah.
open, 500 that are, because now we have 2,000 shows. My God. So maybe if we just have half of that be open shows and half be championship shows, they can go to all the shows they want. And that probably could be more of an incentive because handlers might not be there just to finish dogs, or they may be. And maybe again, the owner handler has another pocket. They should all be competing against each other. Don't get me wrong. I don't want any
Right, right,
separation. I
right.
think the owner handlers get better because the pros, and the pros get better because the owner handlers, and the breeders feed the whole system. And I think it all works just fine. But if they're looking for a little sidebars, way to get points or whatever, I don't know. There's got to be a way. But this top dog ranking thing, like I said, when there was only 700 shows in 1994, 700.
And imagine we have over 2,000 now.
So now when you're
And
running for number one, it's been incremental.
right,
Incrementalism is an evil thing because we don't notice it. It's so subtle over time, little bits and little bits. And
kind of
all,
like getting old. It
yeah,
sneaks up
yeah,
on you.
tell me about it. We had dinner with some friends last night and I announced we're getting up now and I will make noise, just so you know. There's going to be something as I stand up. We've been sitting here too long. But yeah, it's incrementalism has driven this thing from we've double the number of shows, double them.
Amazing.
That's crazy.
From and what year was it? What year were there?
Well, I mean, if you
1994?
go from the early 90s, you can
Yeah,
pick up.
early 90s.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Think
Yeah.
about that.
It's only 30,
Yeah,
40 years. Yeah. And
right,
and of
right,
course for us, the 90s was last week, right? But most
right.
people listening weren't born in the 90s. Uh, so
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly.
Be that as it may, there's a history that some people maybe not absorb. So if they don't know that there used to be 200, 500, 700 shows, when you double the number of shows, which is now the current system, you've doubled the number of shows you have to go to be number one. And more
Yeah.
important, you have so many options that now you're probably instead of going to 150 shows, you need to go to 250 shows, 300 shows a year to be number one. And that's just crazy. That is absolutely insane. It's not good
Well,
for
and look at how many of us competing, and I'm going to include myself in that, are older. I mean, how
yeah.
many times, you get a phone call from your buddy, oh, they just hauled so and so out on a stretcher, and
Mhm.
it's probably somebody that's been really pushing hard and,
Mhm.
trying for rankings. And then what about those people that, okay, I just want to get to first they've got, okay, let's say they've got 79 best in shows. and everybody wants to be a member of the 100 club, 100 best in shows. So now I gotta, keep showing my dog, keep begging the judges, oh, I just need one more best in show,
Yeah.
and then they say that to every single judge. And then they get their 100 best in shows. Okay. So now you're like, okay, good. As a judge, you're like, okay, go away. You've done your thing. Oh no, now we're coming back. We're bringing Boozer back because Boozer now has another record that he needs to break.
Mhm.
Well, who does? The dog or the handler or the breeder or whatever? The dog's not
No,
asking for it.
no.
So now you got this dog in front of you again for another year. And it's expected to win the group because it, is a top winning dog. Wrong. No.
Yeah.
And judges, I will tell you, get sick of it. It's like, next,
Well, you
next.
start getting that red ribbon instead of that blue ribbon, and then you start to complain about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it's just too much. It's just too much. And if we're going to respect the dogs in the sport, we've got to bring it in. Got to bring it in. And the only way you can do that is by coming up with something new. And I'm all about, and as I said, I didn't invent the 100 concept. I'm just trying to talk through the tiers of it to flesh it out more. But I've heard a couple people over the last few years come up with this too about the 100 dog shows and top 100. And I think, I don't know, for me, if I'm number one all breeds in the top 100, or number one all breeds for all shows in the world, including the 200 dog shows, the 130 dog shows, I think I'd rather have the more elite one. If I'm spending
Of
$1 million a year to do
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
But and I love the concept. I do.
Yeah.
And I think a key part of it is going to be that the decisions are not going to be easy and they're not going to be nice. You're
Right.
going to have to go in there and clean it up. And
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people are going to be very, very unhappy. And you're going to have someone strong enough to go in there and kick ass and say, no, this is what the program is. And you either hit this number or you don't.
Yeah. And if you don't want to play in the top 100, you can play in the top 2,000,
Exactly.
the
Yeah,
top
exactly.
2,000. Think how stupid that is.
Top
So
2000.
but you still
Yeah,
have that option. And you can be
yeah,
number one in both if you really want to, whatever turns you on. But I know
sure.
some really good handlers that are just sick and tired. That's all they tell me is there
Yeah.
is there
And the judges are tired. The judges are tired
yeah.
too.
And by the
I
way,
mean,
my best buddy Ken Murray, God bless him, he this last 2 weekends in a row, he came, he did a four, came home for 2 days, did another four. He's had nothing but canceled flights. And anyone
oh
once
my
in a while I hear
God.
someone say, judges should do it for the love of the sport. Oh, really? You try this.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
tried it.
It is
Singing
the
airports
most
all day, few
miserable
days.
part of the whole thing. The most miserable part. And then, the poor, not only do I judge, but I also run a dog show. And then you get the judges that are stranded, and
Mhm.
they're trying to get to you. It's say a 4-day cluster, 5-day cluster, whatever. So you have one judge that's, across 4 or 5 days, and they can't get in. That you're scrambling. You're like, oh my God, do I have enough people on my panel to cover it? Who can I call that does these groups? And so it people, I don't think exhibitors have any idea what judges go through on the travel end of it.
Yeah.
And most of the time, like I live in a small town, I have a 5 a.m. flight if I want to get anywhere to the other side of the country. And so you're up at 2 o'clock and then you're at the airport and then your flight's canceled. And so it really is. And the older you get, the crankier you get, and the more tired you are. And it's like, why am I doing this?
5 days
Why?
in a row, 7 days in a row. And again,
Exactly.
not complaining. We love what we do, but
Yes, we do.
what we do for the love of the sport for free is travel. That's what we do for the love of the
Yes,
sport for free.
absolutely. Absolutely. That is a huge sacrifice,
And
actually.
my
Yeah.
$82, my Orlando $82, the dry cleaner is not covered by anybody, by the way. And that's
True.
every, you put four suits on or four outfits on for 4 days and whatever else you're going to wear. It's going to cost you 75, $80 to get them clean for the next weekend.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and anyway, not complaining, back on track.
Yeah.
I really think something needs to be done. Been saying this for years. If it's not going to happen, to do it for the AKC to do it, they would have to say, you're out, you're out, you're out. And clubs would be affected heavily and they could complain and whine. I get that. But in this system, the magazines are doing it and they can make the call because you still can do whatever you want. The AKC is
Mhm.
not telling you. So, and then maybe the top 100 shows does eventually form more of a pyramid, and we have an open concept, open concept house design, too many shows, an open forum for, you know, opening up ideas for what to do about the open show or non-open show or whatever. So I don't know. That's our thoughts. We're sticking to it, and we're still standing. I'm Wayne Kavanaugh.
And I'm Kim Meredith.
Yes, you are. And we will see you soon. Thanks very much,
Yes.
all of you, and wishing you safe travels and 100
And
shows.
no delays, no flights.
That's right. Until next time. Thank you.